Welcome to Ask the Lawyer radio podcast with attorney Brian Figeroux of the law firm Figeroux Associates. This podcast features a recording of our most recent radio show aired weekly in New York City. We hope you enjoy the show, which features news, views, and interviews on matters such as immigration, personal injury, bankruptcy, divorce, family law, estate planning, wills and probate, deed transfers, civil rights, criminal defense, workers' compensation, and taxes, both individual and business. You can contact us at 855-768-8845 or visit us at www.askthelawyer.us. You have questions? We've got the answers.
How to reopen a divorce in New York State for issues of equitable distribution. Divorce settlements in New York State, NYS, are meant to be final and legally binding. But there are circumstances where a spouse may seek to reopen the case, particularly if there were errors, fraud, or significant changes related to equitable distribution, since New York follows equitable distribution laws, which aim to divide marital assets fairly, though not necessarily equally. Disputes over property and assets may continue even after a divorce has been finalized. This article provides a detailed analysis of the legal grounds for reopening a divorce case in New York, the process for doing so, and possible outcomes. 1. Can a divorce case be reopened in New York? In most cases, a divorce judgment is final, and courts do not allow spouses to challenge or reopen cases simply because they regret the outcome. However, New York law does allow a divorce to be reopened under certain circumstances, particularly when it involves equitable distribution issues. The primary reasons a divorce can be reopened for equitable distribution disputes include K. Fraud or misrepresentation. If one spouse hid assets or provided false financial information. Mistake or clerical errors. If a financial miscalculation or a legal mistake occurred in the division of property. Newly discovered evidence. If new information comes to light that was not available at the time of the original divorce. Unconscionable agreements. If the division of property was extremely unfair or one-sided, suggesting coercion or lack of proper legal representation. Failure to disclose assets. If one spouse intentionally hid money, properties, or investments. Each of these grounds must be proven in court to successfully reopen the case. 2. Legal grounds for reopening a divorce for equitable distribution. A. Fraud or misrepresentation. Fraud is one of the most common reasons for reopening a divorce case, especially in cases where one spouse hid assets or provided misleading financial information. Example: a spouse failed to disclose offshore bank accounts or an investment property. How to prove? The wronged spouse must present evidence of fraud, such as bank statements, real estate records, or testimony from financial experts. If fraud is proven, the court may adjust the original division of assets and impose penalties on the dishonest spouse. B. Clerical mistakes or legal errors. Errors made by the court or attorneys in drafting the divorce settlement may be grounds for reopening the case. Example: a spouse was accidentally awarded the wrong percentage of a retirement account due to a calculation error. How to prove? The spouse must demonstrate that the error materially affected the division of assets. If a legitimate mistake is found, the court can correct the distribution of property. C. Newly discovered evidence. If new financial information emerges after the divorce, it may be possible to reopen the case. Example: a spouse learns years later that their ex had a hidden stock portfolio. How to prove? The spouse must prove that the evidence is not available during the divorce proceedings and would have impacted the settlement. The court may redistribute the assets or award compensation to the wronged spouse. D. Unconscionable agreements, extreme unfairness. If a settlement is so unfair that it shocks the conscience of the court, a judge may agree to reopen the case. Example: a spouse agreed to a one-sided settlement without legal representation or under duress. How to prove: the spouse must show that the agreement was not voluntarily and knowingly signed. If the court determines that the agreement was unjust, it may modify the division of property. Failure to disclose assets. New York requires full financial disclosure during divorce proceedings. If a spouse hides or undervalues assets, the court may invalidate the original distribution and order a fairer division. Example: a spouse underreported their business income to pay less in alimony and avoid equitable distribution. How to prove: financial audits, tax returns, and forensic accountants may be used as evidence. If a spouse is caught hiding assets, the court may award the other spouse a larger share of marital property as a penalty. 3. The process for reopening a divorce in New York. If a spouse believes they have grounds to reopen their divorce case, they must follow a legal process. Step 1. Filing a motion to vacate the judgment. The spouse must file a motion with the same court that issued the original divorce decree. The motion must include the legal basis for reopening the case and supporting evidence. Step 2. Gathering evidence. To succeed, the spouse must present financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, business records, witness testimony, if applicable, expert reports, for example, forensic accountants. Step 3. Court hearing. The judge will review the motion and may hold a hearing. Both parties may be required to testify and present evidence. Step 4. Court decision. If the court agrees that fraud, error, or unfairness occurred, the judge may modify the property division or issue other corrective orders. If the motion is denied, the original divorce judgment remains unchanged. 4. Possible outcomes of reopening a divorce. If a court grants the request to reopen a divorce for equitable distribution issues, several outcomes are possible. A. Recalculation of asset division. The court may redistribute marital property, awarding the wronged spouse a greater share. B. Financial compensation. K. The spouse who was wronged may be awarded additional financial compensation. C. Penalties for concealment of assets. A spouse found guilty of hiding assets may face monetary sanctions or lose their share of those assets. D. The motion is denied. If the judge finds no sufficient evidence, the request to reopen the divorce will be denied. 5. How long do you have to reopen a divorce case? New York has time limits for reopening a divorce case. For fraud or misrepresentation, typically, the motion must be filed within 2 years of discovering the fraud. For clerical errors or mistakes, no strict time limit, but it must be filed within a reasonable period. For newly discovered evidence, must be filed as soon as possible after the evidence is found. If too much time has passed, the court may refuse to hear the case. 6. Do you need a lawyer to reopen a divorce case? Since reopening a divorce is legally complex, it is strongly recommended to hire a divorce attorney who specializes in post-divorce modifications. A lawyer can help gather evidence of fraud or mistakes, file legal motions properly, present a strong case in court. Conclusion. Reopening a New York divorce case for equitable distribution issues is possible under limited circumstances, including fraud, hidden assets, errors, and extreme unfairness. However, the burden of proof is high, and courts rarely overturn settlements without clear evidence of wrongdoing. If you suspect financial deception or errors in your divorce, consulting an experienced divorce attorney is essential to determine if you have a valid legal case. Understanding your rights and legal options can help ensure a fair and just resolution.
Did your uncontested divorce overlook asset division? You're not alone. At Figeroux Associates, we help clients in New York City address equitable distribution issues even after the divorce judgment is finalized. If you find yourself without a fair share of marital assets, our experienced attorneys are here to guide you. With expertise in post-divorce asset division, we'll navigate the complexities of New York's family courts, helping you secure the distribution you deserve. Don't wait. Equitable distribution can protect your financial future. Call Figeroux Associates today at 855-768-8845 for a consultation. We're here to fight for your fair share. That's 855-768-8845. Figeroux Associates, securing your rights even after the divorce is final.